Still here.
Still
Okay,
here.
good.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I guess I should check to make sure if it actually is episode 72. So prepared. It is. Hello and welcome to the ParkStop podcast, episode 72. My name is Alicia Stella. Joining me as always is my co-host Ian.
Hey, kids.
And joining us today, very special guest, we have the one, the only Seth Kabursky of the Unofficial Guide series and 1,000 other things that I cannot list here. We'd be here all day. Seth, how are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me on. I am doing great, and I am so excited to come on the podcast and talk to you about our new baby.
Yes. And today we're going to talk about some news that we got to catch up on, IAAPA Expo that happened last month. And we're also talking about the Unofficial Guide to Universal Orlando 2025, which is on bookshelves now.
And I had nothing to do with any of that.
You went to IAAPA Expo with us, so don't act like you're innocent in all this.
Okay.
But Seth and I co-wrote this year's edition of the Unofficial Guide to Universal Orlando 2025. So it'll be interesting to discuss our process there and also get into the history of the book and also to remind you all to pick up because it's got your full guide to Epic Universe in this year's edition.
Uh-huh.
Seth, since you're all knowing, we went to the Orlando Informer meetup last night.
How was it? Did you have a good time?
We had a great time. We were pre-exhausted for different reasons, but we still had an amazing time.
I've been to a few of those in years past. I've not been to one in a number of years. But
when the last time you went, was it both parks or just one park?
I think I've been to both a 1-park and a 2-park version over the years.
Because it is a lot. There is we have a list of all the free food, and we're like, there is no way we're hitting all this free food.
Yeah.
Nope.
There's only so much stomach space that we have. I wanted to ask you because it's easier than just looking it up. Is Men in Black doing like a refurb right now?
Yes, Men in Black is in an extensive refurb, and it's supposed to be done in time for the Christmas week crowds.
Oh, okay.
But I have to look up myself what the exact return date is. I don't know if it's been pushed back. I haven't heard about it opening any sooner. If they could sure use it to soak up the crowds, because honestly, there's just not enough to do in the studios without Men in Black open.
It was like the one time in the last like 4 times we've been to the park all together, and I was like, let's go do Men in Black. Oh no, it's closed. And I completely forgot that it was because it was rumored it was going to get a big refurb for like years. So when it actually happens, I can't decipher rumor from reality anymore. So I had no idea it was closed.
Yeah, I thought that originally it was supposed to be back up December 10th. Which was a few days ago, so I'm not sure what the new reopening date is.
Oh, okay.
They're not going to fix the gun, so.
See, I just proved that I don't know everything.
Yeah.
Right now it's through the 5th, through today. Oh, okay. So if you're listening to this episode, it should already be open again.
All right, go run over there and let us know.
Yeah, let us know if it's different. Anyway, so let's talk about the IAAPA Expo.
So long ago, before Thanksgiving. How am I supposed to remember anything before Thanksgiving?
Several of days. It was weeks. It's been what, 3 weeks?
It's been a minute.
How many days were you there, Seth?
I only went for 2 days, but they were 2 very full days that I put half marathons on my step counter.
We only did
days.
1 day.
Yeah, we did 1 day.
Honestly, most years for me, 1 day is enough for my body, my knees, my shoes.
Right.
But this year I had so many appointments lined up. I had different vendors and companies and stuff wanting to show me stuff or talk to me. And I had to go back for 2 days. I almost went back for a third, but I just couldn't take it anymore. In a good way, it is exhausting. In a good way.
Yeah, normally I do 2 or 3 days, and I do the first day mostly like setting up appointments and stuff and interviews. And I have a hurt leg. So I tried to keep it light this year and didn't set up anything. The only thing I had that I really wanted to do was the Legends panel. So I wanted to try a new Dippin' Dots flavor and go to the Legends panel. And then in between, we kind of just walked the entire show floor, which is, of course, a marathon in itself. Yeah. So,
and it's funny, the only 2 things that I do every year, which I did not get time to do this year, were the Legends panel, which is always my favorite. And I'm sorry I missed it this year. And I did not try Dipping Dots because every time I went by Dipping Dots, there was a line down the aisle.
It doesn't matter if there was a line. Dippin' Dots, there's always time for Dippin'. We go there first, and it wasn't
We
in the
do.
same spot that it
Priorities.
always is. So I actually had to like figure out where it was. It's where the food. It makes
Yeah.
sense to finally, after all these years, put it where the food is. But
Yeah.
we always start there. So
I
Yeah,
found
and
the
they-
free open bar there too. It's great.
And
So-
I don't know if you felt the same way. I've been doing IAAPA for well over a decade now, and the size has like grown and shrunk over the years.
Mhm.
You know, that we had a peak before COVID, and then
yeah,
obviously
when they
after
added
COVID,
that tent building, that like
Mhm.
extra floor space, but
Yep.
then it shrunk again.
and then we had years where it was like dead in the corners. There would be big, empty
Mhm.
spaces. This is I really feel like every square inch was filled. Plus, they had things moved up to the upper levels, like
Yeah.
the haunt area
Mhm.
that Dan Caro from Gatorland put together. They had that whole food sampling area, which I thought was great, with the bar in the middle. I really felt like it was physically square footage the biggest IAPA I've personally been
It was
to.
definitely the most utilized space I've seen, because there was that one year, maybe it was 2019, where they did dump out into another building outside, which was
Yeah.
like a tent.
When
But
they this year they had 2 outdoor sections.
yes,
They had
I was going to say
one,
you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2
Okay.
whole outdoor areas,
So
not
maybe,
covered
yeah.
over, but yeah.
Once
It-
you add up the upstairs stuff, that does seem like
Yeah.
maybe this is the biggest that I've ever been to.
And I think from my memory, the press release they put out, it did set a record in terms of attendees and participants. So
well, would you say then that the amusement industry is back, baby? Like, are we-
I feel like we've been saying that. I think we've gone from just like being back to even to actual growth.
yeah.
That's what it feels like.
I think there was projections were a little low on the Orlando parks right now, and I feel like that has more to do with Epic Universe
Mhm.
and people putting off scheduling vacations more than it does, because everyone's been saying like, well, everyone was pent up demand after COVID, so they all used it, so then it's slowed down. But that already happened like a year ago.
Yeah,
like, this is a different type of slowdown.
we've seen traditionally the Orlando theme parks are like a cyclical vacation. They're, for most people, if you're not a DVC person or an annual pass holder, for most people, Disney World is somewhere between, or Orlando in general, is somewhere
Yeah.
between a once in a lifetime to once every 4 or 5 years kind of
Right.
vacation.
Mhm.
So like when we had in 2020, late 2020, 2021, a whole flood of people coming, we would expect those people to not be coming back until 2025 or so anyway.
Okay.
But I do think that Epic Universe, just like the announcement of the first Wizarding World of Harry Potter, suppressed attendance at Universal for the year leading up to it. I think we're seeing some of that effect. It also didn't help that weather was just terrible, hot summer, and then a stormy fall. Neither of
Yeah.
those helped the
I know I
numbers
saw some
either.
people in our fandom make fun of it, but a lot of industry, like a lot of the industry, was saying the summer heat was keeping people away, and everyone's like, it's always hot. But I actually think that
It-
mattered more
It
than
got
it
really
usually
hot.
does.
It's on a different level. It's like Orlando. Yes, Orlando has always been hot, but we always used to have those 4 o'clock rains
Mhm.
to sort of, take the edge off. And the weather patterns have definitely changed. We look at
And
the
yeah.
average high temperatures for the summer and the humidity levels, and it's worse now than it was 10 years ago for sure.
I do also think that the demand. Sorry, Ayapa, we'll get back to you. I
Yeah,
also think that
promise.
the way that pricing has happened at Disney World has changed vacationing. Not necessarily for the better, but maybe better for Disney World. So the busy times are less busy, and the less busy times are now busy. So we're in a very weird, like, flattening of the year for Disney World.
I was just going to say you are absolutely right. Similar at Disneyland, though I think more at Disney World, the use of pricing tiers and of park reservations and all of that, you did a good job of bringing down the peaks a little, but bringing up the
Mhm.
valleys. So we have, uh, you know, on a peak day, the parks don't necessarily feel as crowded. The wait times are just as long if you don't have a lightning lane, but the like shoulder to shoulder cramming of strollers and the walkways is maybe not as bad as it would have been in years past. But the flip side of it is there aren't those dead days anymore where you can just walk on to rides.
Right.
Even the
Like
slowest day is a lot busier than it would have been 10 years ago.
I was gonna say back in the '90s when I'm reading a guidebook, it would be like
Yeah.
go in February, go in September. It's much
Yeah.
slower then. It is not the case anymore.
No.
The only genuinely slow time I feel like we have anymore is from like mid-August to early September. And
It's back
then
to school
you're probably
locals.
going
Yeah.
when Florida goes back to school, and then New Jersey goes back to school, we get that little brief break. But even then, you're risking a hurricane right about then.
Well,
So
that's also Disney World's, for some reason, Halloween event.
yeah,
Which,
yep,
by the way, a little
very true.
secret for pass holders: go during the date of Magic Kingdom when it closes at 5 p.m. because outer towners will not go that
Uh,
day.
I tell people I visited with some out of town folks and did a day, and they're like, we're barely getting a full day. And I was like, but you will get more done before 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, before the mix in starts, because once
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
mix in starts, it gets bad.
But
But
they're all in
from
line for their bags and gifts and stuff. They're
but
fine.
that morning that I did before a party day was amazing. Like being able to practically walk on to Space Mountain and Tron for the first couple hours a day was amazing.
Mm-hmm. So okay, I'll ask.
Uh,
But
but to bring it back around to what you were saying about IAAPA, to tie together IAAPA and Epic Universe. Here, I'm going to make a segue here.
nice.
Um, just before IAAPA started, they had a ceremony, a presentation for the iDrive Chamber of Commerce, and there's a Wall of Fame
Mm-hmm.
in at the Orange County Convention Center. For honoring people like Harris Rosen, and people who have made like lifelong contributions to the Orlando tourism area, and they just gave a lifetime achievement award to Epic Universe before it has even opened.
Wait, the the
Whoa.
the the place, not even a person?
Yeah.
Yes, Epic. So it's mostly people like Jerry Demings is on there, and Glenda Hood, and mostly politicians or big business owners. But they gave they added to the Hall of Fame Epic Universe even before it's opened,
I mean,
which is
it makes sense. Like it is completely, I wouldn't say revitalized, but it has vitalized an
I
area that was underutilized.
Yeah.
that's the thing that no matter what happens with Epic Universe's success, its opening week, it has spurred so much construction and development around that whole area, which for
Yeah.
years was literally just a toxic waste dump for
Oh
military
man.
testing, and is now like
There's like
a
several
new.
hotels under
Yep.
construction or in development. There's fast foods showed up immediatally. They're like, we have
Yep.
workers going to be on site. Like 10,000 people need food. Boom, Chick-fil-A out of nowhere, it just appears.
Yep.
So like,
I mean,
yep,
we're having housing developments there,
yeah.
which is, new housing construction is definitely something that Orlando needs more of. So the economic
A train
interest,
station that
yeah,
probably wouldn't have been like it'll serve
absolutely,
the convention center, but it's
yeah,
really there because Universal's pitching in.
yeah. So even if none of the rides worked, even if no one showed up for the actual theme park,
Knock
the
on wood, Seth.
yeah.
Knock on wood.
Not
Yeah.
the
Come
saying
on.
that's going to happen, but I'm just saying that no matter what happens with the theme park itself, the ripple effects of the theme park are huge in the whole iDrive area, and I think there are a lot of people who are seeing this as finally like sort of tipping the balance back away from the Walt Disney World side of town
Mhm.
back to the iDrive side of town. Because there was way back in the day before Disney World had, 4 theme parks and 2 water parks, there was a lot more parity between the iDrive the smaller attractions, the independent attractions, and Disney.
Yeah, it was almost like a giant L where
Yeah.
people would like at the corner at the the vertex, is that what that's called? Where where you would have Disney World and you would branch out all the way east on 192 with medieval times and other attractions as you get further and further out. And iDrive was the north route, and you would go past SeaWorld all the way to Universal from that L was happening, and iDrive kind of fell off, and it's like been trying to rebuild itself. And 192 will miss you.
Yeah, 192 is gone.
And, you know, you're right. At one point, it was a symbiotic relationship with all of these surrounding places. Yeah, you're right. The 192 corridor, the iDrive corridor, even up to downtown Orlando.
Yeah, to Church Street Station.
And now, you know, it's kind of ironic. Last night we were at an opening event for a new area downtown next to the Ford Keening building, which is an outdoor area. They had a concert last night, and it's covered in the style of Bob Snow, of the wrought iron from the old Church Street. So we still have, you know, we're spending money on gentrified symbols, harkening back to it, but the actual Church Street is basically sitting rotting, and we've had a whole bunch of bars, venues on that street just recently closed down. It's getting scary there.
Well, I mean, the optimists will say we had to close, like those had to die off so we can build new and start fresh.
I'll believe that. I'll believe it when I see it.
With the new, right?
I've seen so many plans for revitalizing Church Street and revitalizing downtown over the years, but none of them seem to just say, let's try what Bob Snow did, which was have reasonably priced, high quality entertainment and food with affordable parking, and make it safe and accessible and not a hassle.
Yeah.
And that's how Church Street was successful. And, you know, Pleasure Island kind of took that same model, copied it, and used it to kill Church Street. And then they killed Pleasure Island.
And Eisner built 1,000 hotels and killed 192. Like, it all comes back to Eisner.
So while you once had several areas of town working to balance out Disney, now we're, you know, all our eggs are in the basket of the iDrive corridor.
Epic Universe, you're our only hope.
Yes.
I forgot what I was going to say. Okay.
I'm sure it was something about IAAPA.
It was.
And some of the amazing things that we saw at IAAPA.
It was.
We vaguely remember now.
I didn't see. Okay. We didn't see much. Like, I'm hobbling around with my leg brace on. I did try the Dippin' Dots. I will say, I'll go in order of what I did. I did try the Dippin' Dots. Ian and I tried Dippin' Dots. We'll restart. This year's was called Cookie Monster.
Yes,
no relation.
It was blue.
No relation.
Yes, it was an unlicensed Cookie Monster.
Well, they do have their Froze Yeti mascot who is like a monster, and he is blue. So I feel like legally they're within their rights to have a blue Cookie Monster flavor.
It's pretty good.
It was like 2 cookie doughs, and then the blue ice cream is like a vanilla sugar cookie. I just love the blue ice cream. I don't care about the cookie dough.
You just like because it's blue. That's all.
It's well, no, I'm yes, it's because it's blue. But I love that company has gobbled up everything, so you can get an icy, a super pretzel, and a Dippin' Dots, and that's how I start my IAAPA morning every time.
Yep. The hunt for the Dippin' Dots booth.
It was in the same spot for 5 years, and then they moved it this year.
They moved it just to mess with you.
Clearly. The other thing I ran to right when we started was I went on the spinny thing, like the Gravitron type ride.
Oh my Lord. Yeah. I filmed people going on it. I was, you know, that's a booth that it's a Chinese manufacturer, and every year they have some sort of spin and puke.
They do a great job of making compact themed amusement rides for small venues.
Yes.
And this is a very small footprint, but a fun ride. So of course I went right to it.
Right. And so it's like the classic gravitron, but it seemed like a very small diameter
Yeah, it's very
compared to
small.
it. So that would increase the centripetal force, I would
It
imagine.
doesn't
Like,
spin as fast
doesn't spin
and
as
yet
fast.
still
Okay.
gets you to
Still,
stick to the wall. So
okay.
I think it works out. You can't go upside down. They tell you that. They're like,
Ah,
it's not just for safety's sake. I don't think it's like strong
strong
enough.
enough to keep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the old days of the rotor at Hershey Park, or the gravitron at the local Kiwanis Fair, and that was like a one-way ticket to Pukesville.
What's great about it is that
Yeah, no, thank you.
instead of the seats the rising up on a track, the
Mhm.
whole thing rises up, so the floor kind of drops down beneath you.
Ah.
And it's like because of that, it's just a simple one piece. Like there's no other moving parts.
I, I watched safely from the outside. It was
I
good.
say, maybe coming to I don't know, a Fun Spot or Old Town near you someday soon.
I think this is
I
small enough to do inside a building. You could see this at like
Yeah,
an Andretti
yeah,
like cart
FEC,
station or
yeah.
something. Yeah.
I think the guy that was running had a Fun Spot shirt on, if I remember right, actually.
Ah, okay. There you go.
Yep. I believe that was at the Rides for You booth, SFC, SBC, one of those Chinese manufacturers,
Yeah,
and
with the
I think actually that company did sell a package of. I know Fun Spots or announced that they're getting new rides at all their locations, and I think might have been through that company.
Seth, was there any announcements that you attended?
Oh, I went to a lot of the press conferences. I can't necessarily say I saw or heard any of the press conferences because the way they handled them this year, every time I would get to one, there'd be this huge crowd of non-media people blocking the media people from being able to actually hear or see anything that was happening. But I got to see some of the new. It's always good seeing new ride vehicles.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm especially excited for Rapterra, which
Oh,
is
oh,
coming to King's
interesting.
Dominion.
Oh, is this an expansion to the Jungle Expedition area
Don't, whoa,
of
I
settle
King's
down.
Dominion?
Settle down,
I believe
voiceover
it
lady.
might be, and I believe it looks like a B&M wing coaster,
Yeah.
and I am just excited to get in that seat and have a safety spiel delicately tickle my ears.
I mean, I cannot confirm or deny who may be doing such a thing. I asked if I could sit in that seat, and they would not let me. B&M is like,
No.
sorry, we're not
No.
letting anyone
No.
sit in it. I thought that would be a really good photo, but I did take a ton of photos of that. It's a beautiful ride vehicle.
It is. It
Yes.
looks awesome.
I've never ridden a coaster like this where you're out on the wings.
I just hoping it is less painful than Thigh Crush. I mean Sky Rush. It looks like it's got the improved restraint system. I rode Sky Rush the first season it operated, and I've never been on another wing coaster since. Oh, actually, that's not true. There's one I did at Ferrari Land in Abu Dhabi that was a wing coaster, but I sat on an inside seat. If you have any doubts, sit on the inside seat because it does make a difference.
Well, I think especially because this is the lead car. I think it
Mhm.
looks beautiful. Like
Yeah.
it's so I took tons of pictures of that one. There was one other ride vehicle coaster lead car that I really liked. It's probably from Vekoma because they always have my favorite one every year. Yeah, it was from Vekoma.
I would say of all the press releases or press events, the one that I was most excited about, and I guess this is something that was released earlier, but it kind of got drowned out in the news. It was under my radar. Is this Vedanta World theme park? It's a nature-inspired luxury theme park with a Cirque du Soleil dinner show,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like they basically went around the world and picked the best from Vekoma and Mach and B&M. They've got an amazing lineup of rides. It does look like the kind of place that I will never ever afford to go to. But that one announcement with especially the Cirque du Soleil Ludo show, which is a new
Mm-hmm.
water-based Cirque show that they had a representative from Cirque that said that this is going way beyond what they did in O in Vegas, and O is pretty impressive. So I would love if they want to invite me to come and give my professional opinion of that park. I'm accepting trips.
Very nice. Where is that located?
That is in Mexico.
Oh, okay. I think that's where is that the coaster train that Vekoma had on display?
Yeah.
Like the
Yes, that is the Timaquantan. I can't.
Tegwani,
Uh, yeah.
Tegwani.
Yes. Yes, it is a Mesoamerican themed
Mm-hmm.
roller coaster, multi-launch coaster, the biggest one in that country.
I think last year they had the.
The gravy train.
It's not actually called that.
I know.
That's what we called it. No, I can't remember the actual name of it.
The trains they bring though are always so awesome. Like
Yeah.
the detail work and everything are so intricate.
Tequani Beast. That is the
Yes.
name
That is
of it. Yes.
And they're always so like compact too. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
and
look
they
at all the
always-
other trains and they're much wider, and this is a compact little beast.
They always look like crazy hand painted too in a lot of ways. So I don't know. I think their trains look amazing.
There were a few other interesting announcements. There's a Naruto roller coaster that's coming to
Oh, really?
park in Europe. There was a bunch of different VR things. There was a Niagara Falls paragliding simulator. Saw a bunch of interesting stuff. Yeah, I always love seeing the models of some of these attractions that will probably never ever actually get built because they're just a little too ambitious.
If it's a theater, if it's a flying theater, you
Yeah.
better believe
Yeah.
there's a model of it. That's
Yeah,
what Sky
exactly.
was saying.
Yeah.
Sky's like, every time you see anyone.
Oh yeah. Speaking of flying theaters, we did see the model flying theater that is going into Wild Arctic over
wow.
at SeaWorld, and it looks very similar to the model that they have for the Lego flying ride, Lego
right.
Movie Land.
That's what I was wondering.
Different manufacturer, similar setup, but the difference for this one is that the seats are kind of double-sided and spin around 180 degrees. So you load in with your back to the screen, and
Right.
then there's another audience that's on the back side of you watching the ride, I guess, and then the whole thing swivels around.
So Scooby Doo
improve-
wall flips around.
Sort of, yes, exactly.
So you're not wasting time while the show is in progress.
Exactly. So you can be loading the next show while the one show's in progress.
Yeah, because the previous version was you load, you switch back, the whole
it
show
was
happens,
almost
and then
basically
you switch.
like a cycle ride.
Yeah.
So you're basically cutting in half the.
Yeah, you'd have to do two theaters and
load time.
alternate that way. This
Exactly.
way, it's two theaters in one.
Yeah,
It's
so-
like, that's brilliant.
Yes. And, we know that SeaWorld has a habit of building very attractive attractions that have very low capacity. So it would be nice to see them doing something.
It's
that
nice
is
to see them
emphasizing
do
capacity.
something that is not a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
You're right.
And the last
Well,
one they did, they just turned into a roller coaster.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't have a lot of luck with dark rides and simulators. I mean, we're going all the way back to the days of Akbar's adventure tours at Busch Gardens.
Hey. At least there was AC in that building.
Honestly,
Oh boy.
I will say that Questor at Busch Gardens Williamsburg and maybe Curse of Dark Castle are really the only two really good, simulator dark ride.
I enjoyed
type
Mission Bermuda
they've ever done.
Triangle very much.
My
Thank you so
Lord.
much.
Yeah, you enjoy nausea then.
And it did not last very long. It was turned into Wild Arctic, which did last a
Yes.
very long time, to be fair.
Way longer than it should have.
Those doors were not, their hinges were flying off. It was like flapping the last time I rode it. There was literal duct tape on one of the doors.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, duct tape is strong, all right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It fixes everything.
I just think Disney would have painted the duct tape white. That's the difference, really. It's a Disney difference. We still use duct tape. We just paint it. But anyway, I'm excited for SeaWorld to get something that isn't a coaster.
Yes, and I just hope they maintain it.
Yeah, well, at least it'll be fun for the first year.
Wow. Okay.
You know what booth I always love?
Yeah.
Wait, I guess it's LF Studios now. The Life Formations.
Oh,
Life
formerly.
Formations, and they work with Disney and Universal.
Mhm.
It's a lot of things that people probably attribute to either Imagineering or Universal Creative were actually done by those guys.
Well, like the Bio Adventure Critters. I think they did at least some of them. They have they had because they have maquettes on display every year that they actually build the full scales to. They start with these small ones, and they had Mondo. The frog with the bongos from
Oh yes, from
Tiana's Bio
Tiana's.
Adventure. Yeah.
Yep.
I also noticed they have the centaur from Hagrid's,
It's
Yeah.
the maquette
That
for
one's been
that
on
too.
display for a few years.
Yep.
It's such detail. They have to put that behind
Yep.
glass because
Oh, yeah,
if anyone touches it, it'll lose its hair. It's beautiful.
They do gorgeous work.
This year they had the Gronkle dragon babies on
Yep.
display, which I can only assume is from the second launch on Hiccup's Wing Gliders at Epic Universe. Now they've also done work for DreamWorks. Which one is it? The DreamWorks park in
Yeah, I think that's the
Dubai?
Motion Gate.
Motion Gate Dubai,
because they have those the Shrek ride where everyone is a marionette.
Right, which is a clever way. If you're going to do
Yeah.
a ride where they're not realistic, make them puppets.
Yep. Good way to work within your budget.
Right, but I always wonder when I see DreamWorks stuff at their booth, like, is this for How to Train Your Dragon in Epic Universe, or is this a previous build?
Oh yeah, because there is a How to Train Your Dragon ride in
but
there.
they do remind me of the ones that we've seen in Bio Reconstructs pictures. But they have like a glitter paint. They're beautiful up close.
Yeah, they're awesome.
So that was exciting to see. They had a working Pete jackhammer from Runaway Railway maquette that actually like moves up and
It
down.
vibrates, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and Marshmallow from Frozen Ever After. The big giant snowman.
Yes.
So love that booth.
Yeah, they do great work. I've been a fan of their animatronics for years.
Yeah, LF Studios, formerly known as Life Formations.
Life Formations. I did not see Garner Holt. He's the other big animatronic.
I don't think I did either.
Not see it many years. You can usually tell his stand because one of his earliest figures and still one of his best was this guy riding a unicycle. And for many years, it would always be on the top of his stand riding back and forth. I always be like, how on earth does that work?
And we had the Grogu, I was going to say Baby Yoda.
Grogu.
We had the Baby Yoda the last 2 years, not this year though.
Nope.
So because I was looking for, I was wandering around in circles, and because I refused to pull out the giant map and the tiny fine print to find the different booths.
But you didn't have the app?
Yeah, I'm such a bad attendee at the IAAPA Expo. No, I did not download the app. Every time I needed something in the app, I had made Sky look it up.
Did you get to see the drone show?
This year I did not. We left a little early. We left right after the Legends panel. But I saw some still pictures.
I saw the smaller version that they did on the first night, and it was neat, but it was more of a tech demo than an actual show. Yeah. I heard the second night I was going to stick around, but there was a weather delay, and I ended up leaving before. But I do understand that they set a record. So.
Okay, that's cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so just for pure volume, I'm not gonna comment on the artistry of it because I feel like it was more of a technical demo than anything else. But
gotcha.
It was sure impressive just in terms of sheer numbers, I guess.
I kind of like that booth that was demoing that new 3D kind of way of doing things where you could see it with like in 2D and it wasn't blurry, but you put the glasses on and it like super ridiculous depth and stuff came out.
They gave us
they give you those glasses.
3D glasses. The 3D glasses say liminal space, so I don't know if that's the company or not.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, they had a giant video wall.
Yeah.
And I did watch the demo, and I got to say that was the brightest, sharpest,
it's crazy
3D display I've ever seen. Like no ghosting.
Well, because it was LED, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just great viewing angles. You could move around. If they could use that, it's opposed to, all of the rides. I love Spider-Man and Transformers, but I feel like especially the larger screens in there all feel kind of dim and
I was on
blurry.
Gringotts. We were on Gringotts last night, and the first big screen scene, I'm looking at it and I'm like, if we didn't have to dim the lighting in this room so much, then it wouldn't be such a bright screen with dim rock work. Like we could actually identify the rock work around us. It gets lost because we're too busy looking at the bright screen.
For sure.
So like if the LEDs, which creates its own light source, could be the screen, which is kind of what I think they're doing at Epic Universe, but then you lose the 3D. So you can't do 3D with the LED screens they're doing. I love that, like the volume when they film like Mandalorian, it creates its own light source. So you would have like a Born Stuntacular, a full lit room this screen, it kind of blew me away.
Yeah,
like
that was very impressive.
blind. We're in a
It was
broad
awesome.
light room in the
Yeah.
middle of the show floor at the
Yeah.
convention center, and the 3D was popping out perfectly.
And it was bright, but it was also black. When it was dark, it was really dark, even in a bright room. So,
High HDR. So liminal. Good work.
No, that I was impressed by that one too.
Yeah, I really like that one.
We saw the Legends panel. I know you didn't catch it.
Oh, I am so sorry I missed that one. That is always one of my favorite
I think the
parts
first
of
year I
IAAPA every
went,
year.
it was even because of your recommendation that I even caught the Legends panel. So you got me addicted. Got
you
on this.
hooked.
Yeah.
What were some of the highlights of this year's?
Let me see. This was a panel of people who have written books about the industry and kind of give the secrets away. We had Bob Weiss. And Margaret Carrison, who we'd seen before in the Galaxy's Edge panel, I believe.
And it's funny because I remember quoting her very confident statement that there would be new games and features added to the DataPad app very soon.
Right.
And I would love to hear her follow up talking about the politics. I'm sure internally at Imagineering she had lots of plans, very ambitious plans that got pushed aside. So
that was also when they told
that.
us that there were catwalks built for shows that would debut later too.
Yep. The shows are great.
Which technically happened. There was a show, a special show.
They did it
one
for
night only.
Give Kids, right?
For Give Kids, yeah. If anyone deserves the one time ever show, I'd much rather be them than media event.
Yes.
And Joseph Pine was Joe Pine was the other person on the stage. It was it wasn't necessarily my favorite panel because I like it when you deep dive into one topic. This was very surface level advice, and it's great for industry people. I feel like it was more advice on people already in the industry of how to turn something like going to a grocery store into a full themed experience that you can make memories from. And it was like intriguing to see the way we could adapt the future of like normal commerce into experiences and memories. So it was all interesting, but I want to drill down deep. Like what was last year's Universal Beijing?
Yeah, it was the Beijing one.
That was interesting because like we get to like some very explicit details on like one attraction. I wanted they talked about the How to Train a Dragon Untrainable show and how it had to be adapted differently for a different audience at Epic Universe. Like that's the kind of stuff I live for.
I think my favorite was a couple of years ago where they did a retrospective on Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't think I went to that one. Which
I think that was the one where Terry Koop basically talked his way out of a job at Universal.
His biggest mistake. You don't answer that question. Never answer that question on stage. It was letting Fast and Furious happen.
Yeah,
supercharged.
That's right. He's very happy traveling the world working with Kiss or whatever now. He didn't need Universal.
Oh boy, well, I appreciate the honesty though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always a good time.
But yeah, it was a good panel. And of course, the host of the panel, Bob Rogers. It's always a delight. Like it could be literally about anything, and I will enjoy it because he makes it fun and he asks the fun questions. I just love when I tell people like he's the one who directed the Impressions de France movie. Like that's his claim to fame in my mind.
Yes.
I'm sure he has a whole career spanning decades, but I know him as the guy who directed Impressions de France.
Yeah, I agree. I think that one felt much more for like up and comers in the industry for that panel. It was still kind of interesting, but it definitely wasn't as good.
You're right. It felt like the next generation of people. It feels like in 20 years when we go to a gas station and it's some kind of immersive experience, it'll be because of this panel. Like I feel like that's what was happening. Speaking of immersive experiences.
Oh boy.
This is the worst segue ever. Let's talk about.
Are we going to talk about the underwater virtual reality? That was immersive.
I hate virtual reality.
They offered me a loner bathing suit.
Oh my god!
Oh man!
And it was chilly that day. It was like in the low 60s.
Okay, wait.
Which for Florida is cold.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Are you saying you have to actually get into water and put VR goggles on?
Oh, you didn't see this. This company, Dive VR.
That's clever.
They've been around for a number of years, actually. And this year they had a swimming pool set up outdoors in one of those two lots out behind the convention center. And yeah, they were offering. They would give me a bathing suit if I
It
wanted to
started
get in,
raining
and
when we were outside, and I hate rain,
yeah,
so I like ran back in with my hurt leg. I was literally
yeah.
hobbling in quickly,
Yeah.
so I missed
So
that.
the odds of you getting into a swimming pool with a loner bathing suit with a hobbled leg,
No, very
not
unlikely.
going to happen. Yeah.
It's talking me into it now.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though, I usually don't like VR.
Mhm.
I don't get motion sick on anything, but for
Mm.
some reason when they did the VR coasters, it was like I couldn't do it. It was if it's a millisecond off
Mm.
from the timing, I was so sick.
Well,
Oh.
I am a big VR fan. I just got myself a Quest 3S. Had 3 different Quests over the years now. I love VR, and I still got ill on. There was I'm not going to name the company, but they had a simulator ride that would flip 360 degrees
Oh,
over like a
okay.
barrel roll thing,
Oh.
and you would watch a VR thing while in this thing. So it was basically like being in a spin cycle of a washing machine. But the problem is that mine was miscalibrated.
Right.
So it was turned 90 degrees to the side.
What?
So
Oh.
whereas the physical sensation made me feel like I was going forward, the video was showing me sliding sideways. And
Why did you not take off the headset or
I
something?
kept putting my hands above my head and like doing the break symbol, the like cut,
turn. Yeah,
and
stop it.
they would not stop. I just had closed my eyes at a certain point.
Okay.
It was like, oh, just try not to be ill. But
I don't know what it is. In my older age,
there's nothing worse than miscalibrated VR.
I get
Absolutely.
claustrophobic now for the Cosmic Rewind. For some reason, I get it's
Aw.
dark. I get scared. Like Rock and
Aw,
Roller Coaster, I get the
scared.
launches at the dark, and I can't handle it for some reason. So you put the VR goggles on my head, and I'm
Yeah,
cut off
you're
from
done.
reality, and I'm like, no, I'm scared. I'm in a different world. Like I can't handle it. You put me underwater in goggles in VR.
Yeah, no,
That's
that's a bad
an
idea.
easy way to murder me.
You got to have a lifeguard with a crash cart sitting right there,
Oh,
ready
man.
to bring you back to life.
Now,
Wait. Alicia did do a VR ride though.
I did do a VR ride.
Oh, which
But-
one?
It was
it's
in
a
the
kiddie ride.
Christmas- It was the Christmas section, but this was the funny part. She and Sky
Did you ride on Santa's sleigh?
I
Yes,
wanted to,
yes.
but since we just did a Christmas, like the elevator thing that takes you to Santa, which is amazing. Like you've seen the TikTok video and Insta videos, like you go into this elevator at the mall and then it flies to the North Pole and then the
Yeah,
other
it's a
door opens
Wonkavator.
and on the other side you're at like the North Pole in Santa's house. Like because it's
Where
two
is
doors.
this?
Because
It
it's
was in
two
the Christmas
doors.
section.
Because it's two doors, you're just really walking through a little tiny doorway to get to the mall Santa on the other side. But it feels like you're traveling in a like giant Wonkavator
Yeah, it was
going
cool.
to the North Pole. And it was like, yeah, they had one on display and we got to ride it and it was amazing.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh,
was
Darn
so
it.
cool. It was
That
next to like a
sounds
big Christmas
awesome.
tree.
So
And they
then-
also had a sleigh
Oh,
and they
you
did
see,
VR.
I'm Jewish. I just assumed that there was nothing there for me.
So,
but they
Oh,
had
yeah.
a jungle. We did a jungle one. We ended up not
No,
doing the
no,
sleigh
no.
one.
but the story was Alicia got on there with Sky, and I was protecting my margarita, and they asked they asked what the people working there what their favorite was, and it was like some pirate thing.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I didn't.
So
I just
I'm
assumed that would be
watching-
the highest quality one, right?
So
That's
I'm
why that's their
watching-
favorite.
This is the fun part, though. I'm watching them, and whenever they're splashing, the reason the person she liked doing that one the most is because she got a spritz bottle out, was like spraying them.
Well,
Oh. So they were soaking you down.
So yeah, so I looked at it, I'm like, now I
With a
know why
spray
this is your
bottle. So
favorite.
this is really high tech.
Yeah.
you have to understand from my point of view, I have VR goggles on and
It's
I'm
so
riding on this
good.
sleigh and I'm like, this motion is really impressive. Turns out they were standing on the back, jumping up and down.
Just
Oh yeah,
jumping
they were
up and
making it
down.
worse, jumping on it too. They were
And
trying to
then-
make some of it.
And
it was
then there's
great.
like a waterfall and there's this spray effect. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even notice they had a spritzer hooked up. Like, I'm impressed. And they're sitting there with a spray bottle
I
on the
had
other
so much
side.
fun watching them go on the ride and talking to the women that were running it. It was so
Oh.
good.
This reminds me of when they decommissioned Alien Encounter. I bought one of the chairs and I used to have it in my house.
Oh.
And I
What do
would-
you mean
I
used
would-
to?
When my wife and I bought a house together, and we had to decide
What is it, clash
what-
with the
what-
decor?
It was it smelled terrible. It had this rubber texture that was degrading and off-gassing.
Oh, no.
But for a while, and I had a source audio copy of the the binaural audio track,
because it
so
has
I
the
could have
speakers
someone.
in the headset.
Yeah, so I could have someone listen with headphones while sitting in the chair, and then I would spray him with water in the face.
That's amazing.
And then I could recreate stitches
You
by
need to
just
hit him with
burping.
a chili dog.
Yeah, you got to burp in their face, right?
Eat a
So-
chili dog and burp.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So
Acid
good.
spit.
that sadly that ended up on the curb. No one even wanted to take that.
Oh, you couldn't even
couldn't
sell
even
it?
get couldn't-
Oh no.
Oh man,
Oh,
that's kind of sad though.
That's disgusting. I love it.
It served its time. It was
Oh.
retired honorably to a landfill.
It got a little mini second life before it had to go away.
Hey, it yes, but I mean honestly, it had a better retirement than Chairman Clench got. So
The the unofficial guide to Universal Orlando.
oh, is that what we're here to
2025.
talk about?
We were.
Never
We
heard
were
of it.
supposed to.
I
An
never heard of
hour
it.
into it, we should wrap this thing up. What were we
Um,
here for?
Well, that's why we had you on, but then we realized we haven't talked to you in a while, so this has been a fun discussion.
Absolutely.
But yes, you and I have worked this year on the. First of all, how many years have you been writing for the Unofficial Guide series?
For the unofficial guides, so I met Bob Selinger, who's the original author publisher of the guide series, at the grand opening of the Wizarding World, the first one back in
Right.
2010, and we hit it off. And I started working for him shortly after that. So the first book in the series that has my name on it is the 2012 edition of Disneyland.
Okay.
And then the first Universal book, we put that out for the opening of Diagon Alley. So that was 2014.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's been 11 years. Well, for the 2025 edition. So it'll be the 11th edition, which is kind of crazy. Never thought that we'd get to double digits, but there I am.
And then I came in the picture last year, right? The 2024.
Yeah, well,
you asked me to contribute a little bit.
Yes. So for the 2024 edition, we, way back in the day, we had Jim Hill contribute little tidbits about rumors and upcoming projects to the book, little sidebars. And we haven't had those for a few years, and we never had one like that for the Universal book. And I figured you are the closest thing to your generation's Jim Hill when it comes to knowing all these behind the scenes stories and secrets and rumors. And so I mean that in a very positive way. So I figured that I would invite you to come aboard, and you were so gracious to give me a hand. And
it was a lot of fun, and Brian Cooper did a little doodle of me and a beautiful portrait of my face.
Right,
so I have
good.
the little. You came up with the name for the Stella Says sidebar.
Yes.
I love it.
Yep.
So that was great, but this year was different.
Yeah, well, honestly, when it came time to knowing that we have to include a chapter on Epic Universe in a book that's got to be written a year before the park is going to open, I knew I really only had two options, which was one was to just shamelessly cheat off of your work and read everything that you've written and rewrite it just enough that I don't get myself sued, or just be upfront about the fact that you know way more about any of this than anyone who is not under a non-disclosure agreement to Universal, and just give you credit where credit is due. So I was so happy that you agreed to come on and share the credit on the front cover with me.
Which is very gracious, because this book has been ongoing for over a decade and it has a wealth of knowledge that I did not contribute to. I helped you proofread it at the end, but
Yes.
while I did help with a lot of the newer stuff, this is anyone who you think Universal Orlando. Like, I think I know Universal Orlando, and I'm reading through this book, especially sections like visiting Universal with kids. which is
Hmm.
something that's actually helpful for me for now, and I've never really done before. So I'm reading and I'm like, yes, I'm going to take notes on this. This is a good tip. This is good. So this is a wealth of knowledge here.
Well,
Before we added the Epic Universe stuff.
I will say, even though my name was the only one on the cover, on the inside, you'll see that there's always been contributors. Bob, Len Testa.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole team at the Unofficial Guide who works on it. It is. I'm definitely never been a one man band because it is way too much material for any one person to keep in their head. Even just things like the food, no one person could eat at all these restaurants, and keep up with all this information. So it's definitely it has always taken a village. It's always been a team effort, but especially for this year for Epic Universe, there's just so much material where you've done the hard work, the pulling permits and
Yeah,
trying to read blueprints
right,
and
knowing how many seats are available on a ride vehicle or
yes.
something. I like, finally, that's useful for more than just a throwaway line in a video. Like, we
Yeah.
actually have use for this
Oh
information.
man.
But I hope that this is a long-term partnership because I really enjoyed working with you,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to getting to go to this park with you at some point, so that we can, we've got all the facts. We know everything that you can know about the attractions at Epic Universe on paper is in the book,
Right.
but what it feels like, what it smells like, what emotional
Well,
reaction it
also, we're
has.
trying to come up with tips,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
setting aside the touring plans, because I want to
Yeah,
talk about that in a minute. But
yeah, yeah,
setting
yeah.
that aside, we had to come up with like tips, like what's the best time of day to go on a ride that hasn't been finished building yet?
Exactly,
What is
exactly.
what age range is this good for? Or
Hmm.
like what is this a nauseating ride? Like, we have to guess a lot of this
Yeah.
stuff based on our best guesses.
And they are very educated guesses because, like I said, you've done the research. We know so much about all of these ride systems, about what kind of restraints they're going to have, or what kind of physical forces that we think that you're going to experience. But you're right; until we get on them, there's really no way to know for sure. So the 2026 edition, we will definitely be working very hard on that.
But
We'll
it'll get
have.
bigger. We'll add more to
Oh
it
my god!
too. There'll
Yeah.
be so much
Oh
more to
man.
know and to explore, and to
There,
like Easter eggs and
Whole
things.
other park of information I had.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, this is the first time that the Universal book has broken 400 pages,
Oh wow.
and there is like a physical limit because the number of pages a book has is directly related to how much it costs to
Mm-hmm.
produce, when also how much you have to sell it for. So there's only so far we can go. I hate it. It kills me. I hate having to delete anything, but there are times where I have to go back through the book and say, all right, is this still relevant? Is this still really important? Can this be condensed down? There's times where, like, I would spend a paragraph talking about something that maybe I could have just said in a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those sacrifices might have to be made to make room for some more good stuff in
Meanwhile,
2026.
I'm like writing the intro to like the Wizarding World of the Harry Potter Ministry of Magic, and I'm like, this feels too short. I need to beef this up. We need to add some more
Oh
information to this,
man.
because like it doesn't match the rest of the book. We have to add more.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what's some
No,
fun facts that we can throw in here?
and it's totally. I mean, that is as a guidebook author, that is the balancing game. You have so much cool stuff that you want to share with people. On the other hand, you don't want to overwhelm people to the point
Yeah.
where, uh, you know, it used to be. In early editions of the books, the theme park information was the last chapter, and we would go through, all the kids stuff, all of the restaurants, all the shopping, everything before we got to the rides. And people were like, "Where's the stuff about the rides?" I'm like, by the time I get to the rides, I forgot why I was reading about the theme parks in the first place. So it's a balancing game to try to keep the flow, keep people interested, to get all that information in there, but without exhausting them so that they never make it to the information that they wanted in the first
We
place.
had fun discussions though on little tiny details,
Oh, yeah.
like, is Victoria Frankenstein like Frankenstein's great
A great
granddaughter
granddaughter,
or
great
great granddaughter. How great was this grandfather of hers?
Just a mediocre grandfather.
And I think we went with great.
I think we got that right.
But there's
I was actually shocked how many of those kind of like tiny nitpicky details that, you know, it's like the apostrophes in the Wizarding World, you know. But I think we got a surprising amount of it right, considering
it was like down to the wire a day before deadline, and I'm like, we have to add a hyphen to Minecart Madness. We have to add a hyphen. It has to be right. We've been writing it wrong all this time.
Stop the presses.
We've been writing it wrong.
But no, and they had some reveals for Wizarding World details after we had our final deadlines and went to press, and I watched all those podcasts and stuff, and I was like, oh, we got that right,
right,
so,
because they were doing the first reveals as we were after we had already written that section, so we were having to go back and be like, okay, that's good, good. Like we did change the type of food at one of the Dragons restaurants. Like I was like, that was it.
But I was. And honestly, I'm convinced that you probably had everything right, and they just changed something at the last second. Like
that's usually what happens. Yeah. Well, there's only so much we can know. So like I'm guessing, I'm like, this Paris restaurant has wine and this one has mixed drinks. Like I have no idea what they're gonna serve. I'm looking at the building. Like, but then when they announced it, I'm like, oh, thank God they announced it was at the restaurant. Like it was the only thing we're missing. So we got that.
And of course, you and I, if you will help me taste testing some of these restaurants, because I know there's a lot of food that you are excited about trying.
It's the most excitement I am for this park. It's definitely the food.
Well, I mean, we've both talked about, I just want to sit in Paris. I just want to sit at a cafe in Paris, because one of my favorite memories of travel anywhere in the world is visiting Montmartre and just spending a rainy afternoon drinking coffee and eating escargot. I doubt they'll have escargot.
Hey, that's a fantastic beast right there on the menu.
Yeah.
That's what that is. I think they should. I mean, then yes, you'll want to be going to the cafe with outdoor seating and not the scary dark one.
Yes. Well, I'll visit that one too, but I just want to people watch. That's what I'm very excited about.
I'm looking at the touring plans at the back of the book.
Yes,
which is one of the last things I had to do. And also like the map is beautiful.
Yeah, we have a great, like I said, we have a great design team. We have a map designer who put that together and did a really nice job.
Like I provided whatever permits I could. I made that Frankenstein permit image where I stitched together every individual permit to make it the modern, like the final version of the park. And it was not easy, but I also only had like half a day to do it. So I'm seeing how it looks so like clean and perfect, all finished up. It's beautiful. No, so the touring plans, which I think when I proofread back didn't get updated. Like you guys went with most of what I said, right?
I trust your gut. Your instincts lined up with mine.
Okay.
And honestly, we do have touring plans has a whole computer system that processes data, wait time data for the attractions in the parks that we track, that it goes into the computerized algorithm that creates our computer assisted touring plans. Obviously, we don't have any data yet, so this touring plan was kind of done the old school way, of using our knowledge of what's going to be popular, what the crowd flow should be like, and just like I said, our gut instinct. And I think it's going to be pretty close. And of course, the wonders of having our partners at touringplans.com and also the unofficialguide.com, we will be able to update that plan with improved suggestions as soon as the park does open and we're able to get in there and test things.
I mean, it was fun because there's multiple touring plans. There's like a 1 day, you're trying to get all the big stuff done. There's a 2 day, you got more time to do more stuff. But there's also like touring with small children, or
Yep.
touring with tweens or thrill seekers or
I
seniors.
expect you to help me. I want that small children plan tested out.
Of course.
Recruit
And it's
your
one of the
spawn.
longer ones too. It has the most stuff in it, because I feel like the small children is great. You get to do the smaller things. You
Yeah.
get to explore the lesser known like meet and greets and things and stuff like if you're trying to do all the big rides in one day, you're not going to have time to go, meet the characters over at
Sure.
Nintendo.
Look, I'm short. I'm not small. Just saying.
Play in the astronomical splash pad.
Speaking of the characters at Nintendo, I don't know if you've talked already on a previous podcast, but I just got to see the first POV videos that have come out of Minecart Madness.
And we actually have not talked about that on the podcast.
No, we haven't.
And I really do think that you kind of nailed it, both in the touring plans and also in the section of Minecart Madness in the book. I think that is going to be like the sleeper hit that has some of the longest lines in the park, because it is so attractive. It's like, it looks great from the outside, and from that POV video, it looks like the kind of like all ages thrill ride that everyone in the family is going to want to do.
The height requirement is ridiculously low, but you still have to be a brave enough child to do something that looks like a scary coaster. But like, it's got the fake jumps and things, so it still looks scary.
The illusions are great too. Like the jump illusions look amazing.
Yeah, no, it looks fantastic, but I have deep worries about capacity and throughput.
It's terrible. It's like 1,100 an hour. It's terrible.
Yeah, and that's assuming that they can keep dispatching it. They don't have to stop and start the conveyor, because it's a conveyor belt loading system, right?
They do have a stationary load for those who need it. I think that'll help, at least in the permits. But they were dispatching 11 seconds in the videos I was seeing, which is like incredibly fast. These carts are so close together. To have a little mini show scene reset every 10 seconds is kind of amazing, but at the same time, it only holds 4 people. So you have a high speed dispatch with a low capacity. I think it's probably around the same as Yoshi. I think in most of the touring plans, I said you can ride either Yoshi's Adventure or Donkey Kong. You can't ride both.
I think you're very right that you're going to have to make some hard choices.
Right.
And it's kind of fun, even at a park that's only got 14 real rides or attractions, that you're going to have to choose some to let by the wayside, I think, especially if you don't have an express pass. So that's for sure.
Which are confirmed to go on sale before the park opens.
Saving grace is that we do think Donkey Kong has a single rider line. And single rider lines might be like the saving grace of this park, because we've got one at Mario Kart, we've got one at Frankenstein Experiment, Ministry of Magic. So I think it might have the most e-tickets with single rider lines.
And like I always say, I think I mentioned a couple times, single riders will help you out, but it's worth seeing a queue once, because there are some really impressive things to come in the Ministry of Magic queue, which we've seen since the book was published, or in the Monsters Unchained. We don't know if it'll skip the pre-show on attraction, so we definitely want to do it once. But once you do it once, that single rider line is going to be a lifesaver.
Absolutely. I'm hoping that at least for ones that have a pre-show, I like the way that the Spider-Man attraction in California Adventure does their single rider line, where the singles still get to see the pre-show. I hope they do something similar.
I mean, Express does that usually at Universal, but not necessarily a single.
Yeah, singles usually just cut straight to the end.
So... But it was a lot of fun it was also stressful. I felt so bad. I'm like, yes, I would love to work on this book. And then I have a baby.
Yeah.
So me and you were having phone call meetings, and you hear a crying child in the background while I'm trying to calm her down. And I'm so sorry.
And we should clarify that we did all this work remotely. We never actually got together to work on it in the same place, but I guess that's very common.
I didn't even think about the fact that it seems like we would have collaborated together.
We do, now that it is actually out and exists. We have to meet up to take a group author picture.
Yeah, and we'll each
with a
sign
copy of
each
the book.
other's edition.
Yes, absolutely. So they will be worth less in the future, right? I always tell people always ask me to autograph it. I was like, it's now worth less money, right? You can't sell it as new
I've had
anymore.
I mentioned it in a video recently, and then at the end of the last podcast, and I had a lot of people say like, "How do I get an autographed copy?" And I was like, I guess you just have to bring it with you to the parks and hope you bump into me.
You can send them to me, and I will track down Alicia and Seth for you
Intermediary.
for a small fee.
It's funny you mentioned that. Years ago, we did do a thing where we would like sign little stickers that could get stuck in. We haven't done that in several years.
That way you don't have to ship the books back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, for maybe the next time. Or
okay.
I should talk to them, and we should do that again. We should do a book signing. That's what we should really do.
You really should.
Years ago, the last place I know of in town that still does book events is the Barnes and Noble on Colonial. So maybe we can do a book event.
I will be at the Pizza Rizzo prom February 8th, Saturday. If you bring your copy with you, I'll be in a pizza gown and I'll be there to sign your book.
I have a blue ruffled tuxedo.
I think that's just snazzy enough for the for the banquet hall.
Are you serious? February 8th?
Yeah, February 8th. Yeah.
I will be there. I'll find a way.
I'm going
to wear... This is an unofficial meettup, by the way, that we are going to probably pack that banquet room.
I am going to
be wearing... And the staff there is going to be like, what is going on?
Everyone in tuxes and gowns.
Oh, my God.
I'll be wearing my Three Amigos tuxedo shirt. That's what I'll be wearing.
Hey, anything else?
I'm curious, just to the two of you, as you are both well-loved people in this community, what was your favorite part of collaborating with each other on this book specifically?
Oh, wow. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Alicia since she first came on the scene, not just because she does the hard work. She doesn't just repeat what other people do, but she does her homework, which is very rare. But she's just got such great energy. She's always fun to talk to. And she gets her stuff done, and honestly that's very rare in this industry.
Yeah.
People who you give a deadline and they can actually meet a deadline.
And I felt so bad that I wasn't getting it done sooner because of the child. God, no. I felt so bad. I wanted to get it done sooner.
No, my thing is if you tell me something is due at this date at this time, it will be done at that date and at that time. But don't ask for it an hour earlier because I'll still be working on it.
Well, some of my favorite conversations back and forth, and not just for this book, but I was giving my 2 cents on the Disney ones, was the ratings. We were reevaluating ratings for rides.
Oh man!
Yeah. So
we were going back and forth.
This is the positive and the negative about having a whole team. I don't write the Walt Disney World book, but I do kind of consult, and we talk, and it kind of breaks my brain a little when we have a rating for something in one book that also exists in another book, but we have 2 different ratings. And sometimes there's a good reason, like they might be quote unquote the same attraction, but they actually do have differences, and there's a valid reason for a different rating. Sometimes it's just because it was written and rated by 2 different people who have different opinions. But especially since in recent years when we've had some, blockbuster attractions that have kind of redefined the 5-star status for me, that I kind of want to, have been wanting to go through all of our books and make sure that all of the ratings make sense. But it's kind of drives you crazy because it's like horse training. It's like, well, if this is a 3, then shouldn't that be a 3.5? But that's really better than this one, which we said was a 2.5. And it's like, it drives you crazy. The only thing that we could all 100% agree with is that Fast and the Furious Supercharged is the worst rated attraction in all of the theme parks we covered. That was the only thing we could agree with.
Now that things like Hagrid's and Velocicoaster exist, those are 5 stars. Is Spider-Man still as high as it is? Does E.T. get bumped up a bit with all the new love it's been getting?
We did. E.T. got some polish, and I will fight for E.T. to maintain a good score in there. And Spider-Man is another one that I will fight for. That to me, that is still just as good as anything else that I've been on anywhere.
It's also kind of become an icon.
It still works. Yeah.
So
But there are definitely some attractions. I mean, there are attractions that have taken a sharp fall from grace
Mhm.
over the last, like Skull Island, Reign of Kong.
Right.
Things that were once, towards the top of the pack that have, had. There's only so many things you can turn off before a ride is not the ride it was
yeah,
on opening day anymore.
That
Um,
Yeah, those discussions were fun for me because like they're not
yeah,
stressful. I don't have to sit there at a blank page and try to like come up with new text. We're just
yeah.
like chatting back and forth, and we have email chains, and we're trying to justify our logic behind our
Yeah.
decisions. So you have like facts and figures and people, and I have feelings, and we're
Yes.
butting heads. But it was actually the most fun I had.
I love this.
No, yeah. Especially sometimes when we get Len Testa, who's one of our other co-authors
Right.
in there, because
I didn't want to say it, but
he has some very strong opinions
Yes.
for certain attractions. Never ever try to diss Mr. Toad's Wild Ride around
That-
Len Testa,
That's how I am
because
with
he will
Philhar
tear
Magic.
your head off.
I will defend Philhar Magic
So-
as one of the greatest attractions in Magic Kingdom. It is.
the Florida version, though,
Yes.
the California one is an abomination.
Yeah, that's one
Yeah,
where it's
yeah.
definitely different star rating. Absolutely.
I'm with Len on Toads, by the way. So
You know what? I love going to hell too.
Yep.
I do, but like,
That took me a minute.
it is the last. It's the last dark ride that's just literal cardboard cutouts. There's
Hey,
just
they're
like
plywood. Thank you for
I'm sorry,
yeah, I was going
my
to say you're getting a
apologies.
little crazy
They're
with the
laminate,
words there.
so sorry, so sorry.
Yeah, but I mean the Orlando one specifically was the one I really liked.
Oh well, yeah, that was the OG.
Our dual track system. Yeah.
Dual track.
So much better.
So
Well,
anyway.
I look forward to having more spirited conversations about especially because we have all the descriptions of the Epic Universe rides, but we did not give them ratings because it's
Right.
not fair to rate something
is
that you haven't
pre-rated,
been on.
yeah.
So I am looking forward to some very spirited conversations rating the rides.
I feel like we're gonna agree. I think most of the world will probably agree on most of it. Although I'll defend rides that other people maybe don't like as much.
I think we should do this as a show so that we can all argue.
Well, like
Oh.
pre-rate or after rate.
Yes, we could have. We can have an episode where we
we should
we
do
can
both. Guess,
argue.
Guess what we're going to rate things as, and then do a follow up.
We should not release it till after the park opens though, so we can bookend it together as one episode. It'll be great.
All right, I'm there.
I like this.
I'm there
I like
for
this
it.
idea. I like arguing this stuff.
The Unofficial Guide to Universal Orlando 2025, the full scoop on Universal's new Epic Universe, written by Seth Kaburski and Alicia Stella, is on bookstore shelves now.
Yes.
Yay!
If you actually have a bookstore with shelves that it's near you that still has books on it and hasn't just turned into a coffee shop, awesome.
I'm sad because I went to Barnes and Noble near me the last couple times I went, and this book is still not on the shelves. The Disney World one is with Bio Reconstruct's photo on the front.
Oh, good.
But this one is not
They
showing
have
up on
not
shelves
gotten
yet.
not yet. Okay, well I'll check in on that. They should.
but
They
you can
should
get it.
have copies, but if you want, you can order it directly from us. We'll ship it straight to you at theunofficialguides.com, or you can also find it on Amazon and other
And
resellers online.
Target.com if you want to get your 5% off with the red card. But yeah, no, go to the link in the description below of this podcast or the show notes and click on that to get it directly from the publisher. That way,
you can support us directly
you
and
can
not
support
give
us
half
to-
your
yeah.
money to Jeff Bezos or whoever.
Yeah, thank you.
No. We don't want that.
Although I do appreciate Amazon will show up 4 hours after I order something, which is creepy.
Yeah, it is kind of creepy.
Like, who's at the door? Like, oh yeah, I forgot I ordered something random
Oh, man.
like 3 hours ago.
You're just doom scrolling in bed in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden, 4 a.m., the doorbell's ringing, and they're delivering a
surprise
water
package.
filter or something. You know.
Yeah, something
with it. I don't know.
I didn't even remember I needed.
You were just sleep shopping.
Oh, man.
Like, I've ordered a spoon, and I'm like, I feel bad. Like, a driver had to get out of his car to bring me a spoon. I'm part of the problem. Anyway, the Unofficial Guide to Universal Orlando. Seth, thank you so much for being here. Do you
Oh,
want to
thank you
list
for having
some
me.
of the many places that people can find you on the internet?
The easiest way is to just head on over to theunofficialguides.com, or on social media, my personal accounts are at @Kaburski on most of the platforms, though one or two of them I might not be active on anymore for reasons.
Are you on the Blue Sky?
I do have Blue Sky account at
Okay.
Eskuberski. Yes.
Okay, there you go.
I am mostly lurking right now. I don't want to get too emotionally invested in a new social media platform and just
I
have
know.
it burn
I've
me.
already abandoned
So-
Threads. Like, bye Threads. I'm done with you.
Oh man.
Yeah, I thought Threads, maybe if they had just merged Threads right into Instagram
Yeah.
and just let you make threaded posts
Maybe.
on
Yeah.
Instagram and leave it at that.
Can you imagine that? Like a tab at the top that says Threads, Insta posts, both. Like, wouldn't that have been amazing?
The weird thing
Yeah.
is that the Instagram thing will like layer in threads, like try to
Yeah.
bait you. It's like, why don't you
Yes.
just make it one thing, man?
Yeah, that could be a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
But thank you for joining us. This has been a
Thank
fun
you. It
discussion.
is always, and I am so proud to share space on the cover of the new book with you.
I'm so honored, honestly, to have my name next to yours. That's amazing.
I just get to sit here and talk to you guys, which is kind of cool. I know 2 authors though.
That's right. I have an Amazon author page now.
You
How
do.
cool is
you
that?
Isn't that
so
amazing?
happy. She sent me that immediately. Like she sent that to me and Nene immediately. It was so fun.
I mean, I set it up myself, but still,
I
have
know.
one.
You sent it immediately.
It's not as cool as having an IMDb page, but maybe that'll
I've
be
had-
next.
Oh, she's got
I've
one of those.
I've
yeah.
got one of those.
You got one of those already.
You're ahead of me then.
All right. Thank you, Seth. Thank you all
Thank
for listening.
you.
Go buy the book.
Please buy the book.
Show us
Please.
a picture on social media that you bought the book. Okay, bye, everyone.
Bye.
I love you.
Bye.